Good evening, Indiana. Welcome to the Who's Left Podcast, show about Indiana politics, history, and culture from an unapologetically leftist perspective. My name is Scott Aaron Rogers, and I'm recording from Bloomington. Tonight, a special occasion, as I've got two guests joining me. We'll be checking in on a part of the state I don't get to hear from enough, Vincennes and the Wabash River Valley. First, Marsha Fleming is a transplanted Hoosier who moved to Vincennes in 2004 from central Illinois. She originally was activated in politics following the current president's 2016 election, and in 2019 and 20 traveled to all four early voting states to knock doors for her preferred presidential candidate, Pete Buttigieg. Following Pete's example of, if not us, who, if not now, when, she ran and was elected Knox County Democratic Party chair in 2021 and re-elected last year. In 2016, she married her wife, Lisa Ritterskamp, a community action project manager and 2026 candidate for Knox County Recorder. In her work life, Marsha is a manufacturer's representative for a gift sales agency, so she travels the highways and byways of southern Indiana, where she sees firsthand how 20 years of Republican rule haven't done our state any favors. Also joining us tonight, Austin Ray is a lifelong Vincennes resident, community organizer, and proud father of a 4-year-old daughter. He is engaged to his fiancée, Sierra, to whom he will be married in June. A postal worker by trade, Austin serves as vice president of both the American Postal Workers Union Local 774 and the Vincennes Civitan Club, reflecting his deep commitment to community service, working families, and human rights. A graduate of Vincennes Lincoln High School with honors, Austin has built his career and civic life around service to others. He is actively involved with the Wabash Valley Progressives, serves on the Spirit of Vincennes Rendezvous Committee, and volunteers regularly at Minatini Park, a native species park that honors the indigenous peoples who once called the Vincennes area home. Austin recently founded the Knox County Young Democrats, aiming to empower a new generation of voters and leaders. He is also hosting an evening with Robert Arnold at the end of this month, a major civic event bringing together progressive voices and Democratic candidates to inspire youth engagement and participation in democracy. We'll talk about that special event as well as the Democratic Party's generational crossroads and the issues affecting the Valley, like the systemic defunding of public schools and hospitals, the lack of affordable daycare, and the flight of educated young people away from the area. But before we get there, a quick ask. This is an independent media project. We don't paywall content, we don't have advertisers, and we certainly don't have any billionaire benefactors. Only individuals like you keep this thing going. It is a foundational principle of Who's Left and the Progressive Indiana Network that we refuse to hide valuable information behind paywalls in the middle of a political crisis, even if that's not in our financial best interest. So please, if you find value in this work, go to progressiveindiana.net and subscribe at the paid level. It's only $5 a month or $50 a year to help us build the infrastructure that will pop the right-wing media bubble in this state. And if a paid subscription isn't in the cards for you right now, that's okay. You can still help out by liking and sharing on social media, commenting, leaving reviews, providing feedback, and forwarding articles to your people. You get us whenever you can. Mostly, we just want you here in this community of Hoosiers dedicated to making this state and its government work for all of us, not just the elite few. Please join us. You can follow me personally on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads at whosleft.us, and on most of your other social media sites at Who's Left. That's HOOS Left. Progressive Indiana Network's handle is the full spelled out name on most sites, but on Blue Sky and TikTok, it's PIN Indiana. Please help us grow with a follow wherever you're at. Tell the others. Let's build a radically democratic Indiana together. Now, let's welcome our guest to the show tonight. First, there's Knox County Democratic Party Chair Marsha Fleming. Marsha, welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
It is great to have you here tonight. I'm excited to hear about your little corner of the state. I don't get to check in there enough. And also, let's welcome to the show Austin Ray of the Knox County Young Democrats. Austin, glad to have you here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
It is an honor. I'm excited to hear from both of you, and in a way, it's neat to have two generations of Democratic Party leadership here. We're in a bit of a cultural shift right now, especially in the party with the primary season. There are folks that have been in power for a long time. Marsha, sounds like that's not you. You've only been at this for a few years. You're not an entrenched
Leader.
who's been there for 34 years or something.
Right.
The 5-year-old Jim Clyburn down in South Carolina who just announced he's running for re-election this year. But there is a distinct kind of generational battle in the party right now, and I'm glad I have two different generations of leaders right here that can maybe elucidate this, talk about that dynamic somewhat, because it seems like you two have a really good relationship, whereas maybe at the national level and some other places, there's folks butting heads over the direction of the party. So, Marsha, I'll let you begin with your thoughts there. And I'm having problems with my Substack stream right now, so I'm going to let you talk for a minute while I figure out
Okay.
what's going on.
Okay, we'll cook for a little while. Well, as far as the divide goes, age divide, I almost feel like sometimes we kind of have a donut. We've got more and more engaged young people, Austin's age or even younger. And on the other end of the spectrum, I mean, before we had the young Democrats, that Austin was very instrumental in getting started. In my 5th year as chair, we, had some false starts and tried and never really succeeded until he was really the main instigator of that. I was often one of the youngest people in the room, bringing down the average age at 61. And, on one hand, I feel like we're failing some of our elders because the things that they fought for that I enjoyed all of my life, they're having to go out and help fight for again. And, they're tired, some of them, and they're pissed off because they still have to do that kind of work. And so from the day I became chair, I was like, we say as a party that we sit in rooms all the time and say, how do we get young people involved? How do we get more young people engaged? And then when they come to us and say, we're excited, we want to be involved, what do we often do as a party? We slam the gate shut on them. And quite frankly, it pisses me off. And I'm tired of seeing that. And so, like I said, last summer and last fall, when Austin got motivated and energized enough through No Kings and some of the other things that were happening locally, he got other young people together and who wanted also to know what they could do, and hence Young Democrats. And I feel very, very fortunate but very challenged to help develop that next group of leaders.
And that's really good to hear. There's definitely that gatekeeping that you talked about. That is a problem. We've seen it at the national level, like we've mentioned, and we've also seen it at the state level here some as well. Austin, can you speak to that a little bit? It sounds like you're in a good situation. You've got party leadership that is there to help you, guide you along, give you a boost up. Are other young folks that you speak to feeling the same kind of way? I don't know if you're in contact with other like young Democrats throughout the state, if they have frustrations or if they're getting similar help from their elders as well.
As far as like in the party in general, I think a lot of people my age feel like they've kind of, I don't know, I hate to say, but kind of like strayed from their original values. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I think that's why people, on our side aren't as engaged from my perspective. But like Marsha said, I mean, we're starting to see involvement. At our first No Kings protest, I passed out business cards to every young person I saw. And our next Young Dems meeting following that, we had 22 people show up when we were averaging like 4 to 6 people.
Oh, wow.
And so we're kind of over the winter, we kind of dwindled down a little bit, but I'm hoping as the weather warms up, we'll get back to where we were at and keep building.
So Austin, you sort of hinted at it, that young folks maybe feel like the Democratic Party has sort of strayed from its roots. So, I mean, even though you guys have only sort of ever known a centrist sort of Clinton-esque, not super friendly to progressive kind of Democratic Party, the people get it. You guys know your history, like that the Democratic brand is like rooted in the FDR era and the working class, and that Republicans still have this reputation as the party of big business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I would love to see a more progressive candidate, get elected into the White House eventually. But I don't know. People see. I don't know if the party's perspective is that they're just scared to put someone forward like that, or what exactly is withholding him. But like Bernie, for example, I thought Bernie was a great candidate, and I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I don't feel like that he had the support from the party, and well, oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Well, and
I was sitting in a corner in my room so my phone can charge. And
you're good. Well, maybe Marsha can speak to that a little bit, because you have seen the party over the last 30 years, say, for example. We've probably been paying attention about the same amount of time to this sort of thing, and we saw, we're old enough to remember the Reagan era, and Bush, and saw 12 years of Republican rule at the top level, and Democrats sort of said, well, if you can't beat them, join them. We need to get that corporate money. We need to maybe move away from organized labor, and they did that, and they won with Clinton, and it was a three-way race. It was a little bit weird, but yet that sort of cemented the Clinton direction as the way the party would move over the next 30 years or so. And he won re-election pretty handily, but the Clinton centrism, the deregulation, right, especially in the financial industry, oh my God, gave us the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Obama come in, ran as a progressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
People wanted the change, open change, right? But I think he governed as a centrist. All those Clinton people were sort of still around. And I think that disillusionment in many ways is what gave us Trump.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, you talk about in our lifetime and how, Bill Clinton was actually the first Democratic president I ever voted for. I grew up in a house divided. My dad was the biggest Nixon fan, which he caught a lot of hell for from the kids in his very own house. After Watergate, I was 10 years old when Nixon resigned. So I very, very vividly, all of that kind of stuff, but got to college and Alex P. Keaton ruled, and college young Republicans and all that kind of stuff. So the first president I voted for was Ronald Reagan in his 84 reelect. But by the time I was out of the house and married and realizing that Reagan kind of screwed over a lot of people, including organized labor and farmers and lots of people, it's, again, the more you know, right? The more educated you become, the more you know. Most people tend to become a little more liberal in their thinking. But 92, when you said that was 34 years ago, y'all. And I feel like in Indiana, and I've seen this ever more up close and personal as I get more and more involved in politics, is we're still using that 30 plus year old playbook and assuming the rest of the world hasn't changed, and it has. And maybe Hoosiers are slower to change than lots of other people, but I think the situation we're coming into is, you've got this group of young people, Gen Zers, late millennials, who are a bigger group now than baby boomers who are dying off. So it's like, if they voted at all, they could literally have all the things that they wanted, all the things that they need as struggling young families, career people, all the things. And so I think a big mistake in the last decade, at least here, has been always thinking we have to move to the middle, move to the middle, move to the middle, move to the middle. Because with the polarized environment that we have now, there's fewer and fewer people who are willing to swing from their position one way or the other. The only way that we get a bigger piece of the pie is to grow the electorate. And that's to motivate people who are not voting to vote. And going to the middle does not fix that problem.
Oh, 100%. I scream it from the rooftops all the time. That's like all I do here is say that exact same thing, Marsha, over and over again. That like running to the middle is a losing thing. Well, I mentioned the Obama election, right? And the hope and change, and how people were so hungry for something different. The system that Reagan wrought and Clinton followed, decimated small communities. It decimated families. We got cheap stuff, but we're still struggling more than we ever have, and people were desperate for change. And I think that we thought in 2016 that we could just coast when people were still hungry for that change. And 2016 was a a change election, and we got a change candidate in Donald Trump. And I like to tell people, like, okay, the system's rotten. I think of it as a house, right? I'm an independent contractor. I've spent my fair share of time in crawl spaces. I know what like a rotten house looks like from underneath. And I tell people, like, the foundations of this country, this economy, certainly are rotten, and we need to sort of systematically tear things down to the studs and remodel and build things back more fair and more human. Um, Democratic establishment, I feel like, for the most part, has been like, listen, things are fine. The demographic situation will save us. We just need to update things with a fresh coat of paint. Spray some Lysol. People won't notice the stink. But the Republicans, they will mention the rot. Right now, their plan is just to blow things up and hurt a lot of people in the process, and certainly capitalize on building things back in their mold. Austin, now, with the young folks especially, in many ways, like, this sort of rot is all you guys have ever known, and you see the system is dysfunctional. The right is working very hard with things like Turning Point USA to capture young folks. And I think it was just today, Mike Braun said, "Oh, we've got to catch up to the other side." And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, we don't have that sort of infrastructure with the young folks that the right does. What do we do to make up for that?
Well, I think we need to come right back at them and try to put democratic, organizations inside schools just as they're doing. Like, I believe that's what Braun was getting at today, right? Like, he wants to see schools be accepting of Turning Point. We need to come right back at them with the same thing. And we do need to get a hold of people while they're young. I think that's very imperative, especially for the course of their lives, to, for civic action and to get out and vote and do things of that nature.
And they they suggest that is a thing that, like, we have been doing, that that I don't know, the Democratic Party or the left in general has been getting folks in college and in high school, and I just don't see where that is there. What made you get involved, Austin? As you said, like the No King stuff sort of got you, like, pulled you in, got you more activated. But what was, like, your political awakening?
Well, I've always voted like left. My mom's a union steward, and I've always thought about the same way she does. But I didn't really get radicalized until, well, I think I can say this, at my job. I'm a passport agent or a clerk. I accept passports for families that come in, like, with their infant children, out of fear that they're going to get separated from their kids. And so, they're getting passports for the children so that they can come with them and come back eventually, if that's the case. That's what really opened up my eyes. I've seen directly just how bad this, like, affects people. Like, most of these people are just here for a better life. Like, I think that's pretty easy to understand. But yeah, that's what got me to the point where I was like, I want to do something about this rather than just complain on the internet all the time.
It's true, that we have that outlet, right? And it's tempting to you get the dopamine hit when you go online, you complain, you get the likes, and people share what you have to say. But I struggle with this myself. But just doing that is like, is it a productive outlet, right? Marsha, we're talking about the young folks and getting them in the schools, and that sort of goes hand in hand with the right is in addition to like grooming the kids through things like Turning Point, they're also funneling them toward religious schools
Mhm.
and private schools and homeschool and taking money out of public schools and leaving them high and dry, and then also injecting Turning Point into the public schools. It is like an assault on education from all fronts, isn't it?
Well, two things. First, I find it so ironic. Well, irony's dead because MAGA killed it. But these Republicans are the worst winners ever. Like the persecution complex that so many Republicans have is just astounding to me. It's like, okay, we have a Republican governor and Republican supermajorities in both houses of the legislature. You are not persecuted. You are the persecutors, if anything. Okay. I'm not sure I agree with Austin that we need both right and left leaning organizations in schools. How about let's keep politics out of schools? And anybody who thinks that Turning Point USA is not a political organization, well, I got a bridge I'd like to sell you, okay? Because that's just ridiculous. But I tell you, one of my big issues personally that I will scream from the rooftops to anyone who will listen. My wife was a public school teacher for 26 years. And her dad was a 35-year school administrator in the Vincennes public schools. And he was right at the right retirement age, right about the time that testing was really starting to blow up. And he's like, I'm here to tell you, if standardized tests becomes the order of the day, and that he actually foresaw teachers being evaluated based on the results of standardized testing, he's like, it's all over. It's all over. And so then you have school choice brought in as basically a bait and switch operation. And I understand at the beginning of the school choice movement, there were, people on both sides of the aisle involved in that. Cory Booker is a very famous, school, charter school choice advocate. Mm-hmm. I don't know where he stands on that today, but I think it's become bastardized, as many things that Republicans touch become bastardized from where it started. But I don't think a lot of people who send their kids to public schools in Indiana, which 90% of Indiana school children attend public schools, I don't think they've realized how the school voucher issue has gotten out of control. And by that, I mean, in the last 9 years, you can go to actually the Coalition for Public Education. The Indiana Coalition for Public Education has a widget on their website where you can figure out the opportunity cost, basically, that of the dollars that your school district has lost out on since the voucher program started blowing up. It started in Indiana in 2011, but it really kind of started to take off much bigger in 2017. And then it kind of went into hyperdrive after the 2021 school year. And so you can see those dollars. So for example, I looked it up today. So because school voucher money comes right off the top of the educational fund before it's allocated back out to the schools. Okay. So the cream is coming right off the top. So Vincennes schools, $7,555,000 in the last 9 years. And so I would ask every single parent in the Vincennes Community School Corporation, is that okay with you? Is that okay with you? Because Matt Hostetler and Bruce Borders, your state representatives, voted for that. Okay. Our three public school systems in Knox County in the last 9 years, almost $14 million right off the top because of school vouchers.
And Marsha, that money isn't staying in your community and just moving over to a private school there.
It
like
couldn't.
School choice. There's no choices there for you.
There is no choice. I mean, there is the Catholic school system, and I'm not here to bash any particular private school setting. In Evansville, that we have a very top prep school, Evansville Day. There's Catholic schools, there's Lutheran schools, there's Christian schools. I'm not here to bash them. I'm saying that 90% of Hoosier school children, so 90% of everyone, go to public schools. So shouldn't tax dollars go to fund public schools? Because there's no way that $14 million is being diverted with a Knox County student to another Knox County school, or even to a school outside the county. That's not mathematically possible. Okay. So in other words, Knox County residents or any rural county, your dollars are going to fund Brebeuf Jesuit. They're going to fund Roncalli on the south side of Evansville. They're going to fund Evansville Day. They're going to fund all kinds of private school situations, again, religious or not, and not going to 90% of the Hoosier school children, including those in Knox County. It's a crime.
Well, and a flagrant violation of the First Amendment, if you ask me. I mean,
and the Indiana Constitution, which provides for public education.
Yeah, it's a real shame. So, we're not doing our jobs as a state, taking care of the next generation, and that goes all the way to pre-K, right? I mean, Austin, you've got a 4-year-old, right? And now I don't know what your work situation is with you and your fiance or whatever, or whatnot, but I bet other folks in your situation in your area are having a real hard time finding daycare for their kids.
Personally, I've never struggled with that. Like, we've always found it easy, but I'll tell you what is hard, paying for it. I mean, we pay $500 a month for her to go to preschool. And, that, and we just became homeowners. It's not easy, that's for sure.
And that's a bargain, I think, compared to a lot of places in the state. There's other places that are charging $500 a week for daycare, because
I guess you're probably right.
Supply and demand.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you other young Democrats in your situation, are they experiencing similar issues with childcare, either availability or cost?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think there's very many of us that are, that are involved that have children besides me.
Well, let me ask you this. Are folks your age, refraining from having children because of things like unaffordable, unavailable daycare, or shaky school situations, or my God, just living under late stage capitalism and burgeoning fascism?
I think that scares a lot of people away from having kids, for sure. We just went for it, and it's been the greatest blessing I've ever had, and we figured it out. But yeah, I think that's a very valid reason, and I think that is a reason why a lot of people my age are not having kids, because of affordability.
I see that there's so much nihilism with your Jim. Can I ask how old you are, Austin?
I'm 27.
27. So yeah, you are just coming into the prime of your life, and there's the Donald Trump administration, there's war potentially, there's climate change looming over everything as well. Our generation, my generation, Marsha's generation have not done a great job setting you guys up for success.
Well, I mean, I don't really have much to comment on that. Like, it just, I don't know. I do firmly believe that the reason a lot of people are not having kids is because of affordability. And I mean, I guess I could agree with what you said. We haven't been dealt the best hand, but it's no fault to either of you by any means.
That's kind of you.
Yeah, well, we're trying out here. We're a couple of the good ones, we'd like to think. But and then there's the medical aspect of things too. Like, if you want to have a child in a hospital, as most folks do, you're going to get stuck with a massive bill. And then, boy, I don't know if it's affecting your area of the state specifically, but I think I saw recently Johnson County and Greene County hospitals there. They closed their labor and delivery departments. You can't even find an OBGYN in a lot of places. And not to mention that a lot of OBGYNs don't want to practice in the state of Indiana because of the liability with our real strict Christian nationalist anti-abortion laws. There's a lot there. And for the party that likes to proclaim themselves as pro-life and pro-family, they make it awfully hard to raise a family, don't they, Marsha?
Well, sure. And I'm a childless cat lady. Let's put that out there. I'm one of those, and actually chose early in my life not to have children. But I was just in my job talking to some guild ladies at the auxiliary at the Princeton Hospital, and I was showing them some baby things. And they're like, "Oh, nope, we don't birth any babies here anymore." And it actually had been a while for the Gibson County for the Princeton Gibson Hospital, since they hadn't done any labor and delivery. So that's a huge thing. My fellow county chair, Tiffany Arthur, over in Davies County, is running for House District 63. And she was recently in a meeting in Jasper, she tells me, where it was about the Mid-States Corridor, another hot button issue in this part of the world, not necessarily for our county, but definitely for neighboring counties. But a person at a Mid-States Corridor meeting came up to her and asked about her views on abortion. And she said, not wanting to get too far in the weeds initially, she said, well, right for now, at least, that's pretty much a settled issue for the moment, because of the Republican supermajority. She said, however, I will say this, if we're going to be in the position of restricting women's rights to reproductive health, then we ought to be doing other things that encourage people who want to expand their families, like affordable access to contraception, or how about sunbucks that we've turned down now for the second summer in a row, to help kids to eat when they're out of school, kids who otherwise would qualify for free or reduced lunches while they're in school. So, the Indiana legislature has a way of not doing much to support families who do want to have children, let alone those in a situation where they may not want to keep that baby. So we're hurting everyone equally, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, Austin, it seems like, given between they're forcing women to have kids that, maybe they don't want to have at that time. They don't really help you out with childcare or with schooling or with, anything to raise your kids or affordability. But they do want to make it easier for kids to go to work early and remove child labor laws. We just saw that this year. I mean, what are they doing here? It seems like they're trying to raise a new crop of kids to go work out in the fields or something.
Yeah, it's funny, and it's the pro-life party. I saw the other day, I think, that someone's introduced an idea to propose the death penalty for women who have received abortions. Like, I don't know if that's something that they're planning on doing in the future, but I saw it on the internet the other day, and that's pro-life. Death penalty
Yeah.
for an eye for an eye, I guess.
Yeah, real pro-life, right? It was always really good branding on their part. They did a good job, cornering the life, right? Well, everybody's pro-life, I would think, but what they're doing is not pro-life. It is pro-forced birth. I want to turn the page and ask about another big thing that's sort of going on throughout the state. We talked to folks in Indianapolis, folks in Northwest Indiana, rural, urban, it doesn't matter. They're always building data centers in these communities, and no one wants them. The right doesn't want them. The left doesn't want them. Are you guys having a fight with any of the big tech companies in Knox County down there about data centers? Let me ask you, Austin.
To my knowledge, I don't have any idea of a data center coming to our area, but there has been a big feud within our town about solar panels.
Really? Okay. Is it the solar farm thing? Like, they're concerned about prime agricultural land getting taken up by these solar farms. I think that's a concern I hear. How do we defend that? I guess, as we're good environmentalists on the left here. We want solar, but we understand those concerns. I guess where is that coming from? Is that organic, or is that like the fossil fuel industry sort of seeding this anti-solar mentality?
Well, I'll be honest. Like, I've been to a couple of the meetings for the area planning commission, and the biggest complaint that is displayed is that people don't want to look at them. Other than that, I mean, there's been some people voicing concerns of like water in the area being, toxic, and that people spread these rumors. I don't know how true it is. I don't think it's true that you can't use the farmland after they're gone. But the biggest complaint from everybody in town, from my gathering, was that they do not want to look at them. And to me, I think there's bigger problems in this world than not wanting to look at solar panels.
Yeah, seriously. And is that just like a macho, like fossil fuels are masculine coded sort of thing? Like, oh, wow, renewable energy's gay, man. Like, what's going on there?
Well, again with the irony, it's like Knox County is a very big coal mining county, as you point out, fossil fuels, and plenty of strip mines. And so it's like, so one of the comments that's been raised has been, well, what happens when they sundown? When they're done, or they've gone past their usefulness, the technology's outdated, whatever. What's going to happen then? And my question is, well, what has happened to strip mines? Have coal companies done the job that they should have done to help reclaim this land or to rehabilitate the land that they have strip mined? And I'm like, and I know where some of these solar farms are proposed. And again, a half a mile, a quarter mile up the road you're looking at strip mines. So it's like, I'm not sure which is worse. I'm like Austin. I don't really understand a lot of the anti-ness. But from maybe a little more libertarian point of view, is this really comes down to land use and who has the rights to determine what happens with their land. We know that farmers have lost plenty of markets because of tariffs, especially for soybeans. And so new revenue streams, new income streams are always important to landowners. And it does seem to me that the segment that's getting squeezed the most is more the sharecropper tenant farmer situation, who's cash renting land. And so that potentially could take thousands of acres out of the pool that those folks, would be able to farm. And they've had to do that though, because land is expensive and they don't, can't buy enough to sustain their family. So I understand that issue. But at the end of the day, what are the laws in Indiana about how you can use your land? And those rights go to the owner.
Well, it's an interesting way to come at that, because you're sort of talking the language that you would normally hear from the right in terms of property supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and boy,
there's plenty of sides to this issue, to be sure. What I do find interesting, as someone who, my dad was in agribusiness, I grew up in the country. I didn't live in town. And I do find it interesting that people leave even small towns, a town of the size of Vincennes, 35,000 people, because they want a more peaceful, bucolic existence on their 1, 5, 10 acres in the country. But what these folks do have to realize is the agrarian lifestyle has been there a lot longer than you have moving and building your dream home out on the countryside. I imagine 20 years ago, a big argument for people who own the 1, 5, 10 acres is, I don't want turkey barns next to my forever dream home with my 2.2 children or whatever. But guess what? Do you want turkey barns in town? I can guarantee you do not. And so that's why we put turkey barns in the rolling hillsides of Knox County, Indiana. So you can't have all the things all the time. And you can't have a perfect city life if you choose to move to the country.
You want all the benefits and none of the risks.
None of the downside. Yeah.
None of the downside. Yeah. So, weird. Funny thing about that, like everybody, it's a uniquely American mindset. I feel like that we are just and this for generations groomed to expect that we can have it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can have whatever you want, and you don't have to sacrifice anything. And the hell with the next guy, right? It's very
right.
just
Or the public good. Or the public good, renewable energy, right? You say all us lefties, we're all for renewable energy. But just like anything that's new technology, sometimes there's trade-offs too. One way of life goes away and another way of life comes in. It's kind of the life cycle of things, really.
That's the business cycle. Again, looking at it from the right side of things. I mean, if you want to conserve in the traditional sense, you're going to butt heads with capitalism, which wants
Mhm.
to extract more and more and more, and is continually changing your way of life and taking your job away, and introducing cheap goods from overseas because they're cheaper to make there. And um, I think a lot of folks are starting to realize that, and that's why we're in the middle of this major sort of realignment that we're in
Mhm.
right now. And it's ugly. We're in the middle of it, and when we come out on the other side, I think things are going to look a lot different than they did when we went in. Austin, you guys have a big event coming up at the end of the month. Now, I understand No Kings is also at the end of the month, but that evening, you've got a major event there in Vincennes, an evening with Robert Arnold. Can you tell us about that? Who is Robert Arnold? Why should we want to go see him?
Robert Arnold is a progressive poet and author. He is from Helena, Arkansas. Um, he's really big on TikTok, and that's where I first found him. He speaks about all the issues going on currently. He makes a video just about every day, it seems like, at least once a week. Um, but he's great. He has a way of like painting a picture with his words, and I could sit there and listen to him speak for hours. And he's great. If you've never heard of him, I suggest you look him up. And once you hear him, you'll be interested in coming. I promise. If you think like we do, he is great. And this all started with like me being a fan of his work. I was watching his page one night, and I saw like on his link tree he had a speaking request for him. I was like, let's go for it. So I sent him an email. I found out how much it was. They got back with me fairly quickly, let me know, and it all went from there.
That's fantastic. So that's on the evening of March 28th, and that is in Vincennes at the Red Skelton Event Center. Now, I'm gonna date myself a little bit. I don't know Red Skelton. I only know Red Fox. Marsha, Red Skelton's a big deal, isn't he?
Red Skelton is a big deal. He was born in Vincennes, and so he's when vaudeville used to come through Vincennes as a child, he would sell newspapers. And so he would sell newspapers to the performers so they'd know the local and national news and everything. And then he became like a theater vaudeville star himself, was on television for many years with the Red Skelton Show. So people who are really older than me, I very, very only vaguely remember when the show was still on the air, maybe when I was in, before I got into school. But Clem Cadiddlehopper, he was also a pretty renowned painter, painted lots of portraits of clowns. So he kind of considered himself a clown, if you will. And so, he was born in Vincennes. And in fact, you can look out the front door of the Red Skelton Performing Arts Center and see the house where he was born and grew up in the north end of Vincennes. So that's kind of cool. It kind of abuts the campus of Vincennes University. So if you're coming to town and you need to Google it, it's on the north edge of the campus of Vincennes University. So, but I want to back up just a second. And just tell everybody that none of this would have happened. Well, first of all, March 28th, this date's been set a long time. I'm catching a little bit of heck as we're publicizing this event saying, well, that's No King's Day, right? And I'm like, yeah, but we had our event on the calendar first. But I do think it's going to be a big capstone to a day of activism and resistance for people to go to your local protest. We've hosted a couple in the first two in Vincennes. We decided not to this time just because of volunteer bandwidth. Anybody can put on a protest. It doesn't have to be the Democratic Party, although we've kind of taken the lead the last couple of times. So if someone wants to host a protest in Vincennes, we would certainly give you some tips and let you know what agencies you need to reach out to, or if you need a national park permit or whatnot. But whether you're going to a protest throughout southwest Indiana, go to Bloomfield, go to Boonville, go to Terre Haute, go to Evansville, go to Princeton, go to Bloomington, go to your protest, and then come on over to Vincennes. The event starts at 6 p.m. Eastern time. The doors will open at 5. And we've really kind of around this Robert Arnold appearance. Oh, I wanted to say how Austin really made this engine go. So after Austin got with Robert, figured out what the speaking fee was, he started a crowdfunding campaign, and people gave $5, $10, $50, $100. And within what, Austin, 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, you raised the money basically for the fee.
To get him, yes.
Yeah.
It didn't take very long at all.
Yeah. So within a couple, 3 weeks, we had the money to bring him here and thought, okay, we can raise more money later if we need money for anything else, which we have. Major support was provided by our Knox County Democratic Party as well as Wabash Valley Progressives. And so those two organizations, we kind of consider ourselves kind of sisters in the fight. You know, Wabash Valley Progressives is more of the local activism, issue-based. You know, they're for social justice and protecting the environment and recognizing our Native American history, and put on the Pride Festival, those kinds of things. Whereas we're the more, political action, get candidates elected arm. But we definitely have overlap in leadership and participation. And so between the two of us, did some major supporting as well as the crowdfunding. So, I mean, we're just looking for a really engaging event for everyone to hear Robert speak. We'll also have a parade of candidates across the stage. So if you are running in southern or central Indiana or even eastern Illinois and you want to come to the event, you can walk across our stage, say your name, the office that you're running for, and what area you would represent in that office. So because I want local people to see that there are Democrats running for office. I mean, it's been kind of a historic year in that for our 25 state Senate districts that are up for re-election this year, we have a candidate running in, at least one candidate running in every single one, and 91 out of 100 House seats in Indiana. So definitely, people are enthused and engaged. So whether you're running for Township Trustee Advisory Board on up through the State House, we want you to come and walk across the stage and tell people who you are. Not while you're running, you just could say your name and what you're running for, because we'll also have a few other speakers. We have 4 people running for 8th District House of Representatives for Congress. So they will all 4 bring remarks, as well as both Secretary of State candidates have been invited, and Blythe Potter will appear to make an appeal to the folks as well. So we're really excited.
It sounds like a real great event. Austin, just congratulations on putting that whole thing together. It sounds like, it's not something you really had a lot of experience doing, but you said, damn it, I'm going to do it. And you did it. And here we are just a couple weeks out. You've got to be excited for to see this thing come to fruition.
Oh, I sure am. I've got a great team behind me that's helped make it happen. Cause like you said, I have no experience with something like this, but I've got a lot of people that are helping me out to make this possible, and I couldn't do it without them.
That's really good. And what's the the vibe with the other folks your age? I assume they're more TikTok folks than say Marsha and I probably are more familiar with Mr. Arnold's work. You got a lot of folks reaching out from your area like, hey man, this is awesome. I can't wait to come out to this thing.
Well, I've seen like all the candidates have shared it on their pages, and I've seen a lot of comments of people be like, "Oh, he's wonderful. I'll listen to him on the internet all the time." And that's what I was kind of hoping for, that people would recognize him, and surely they are. And a lot of the people that are involved and that I've presented this idea to are sharing it, and so he's been exposed to a lot of people in our community now. And so I think people are very excited, and I know I surely am.
I'm excited for you. I wish I could get out to you that day. I'm starting my March 28th No King's Day out in Cincinnati. So like you guys, I had something on the calendar. I really wish the No Kings organizers would have consulted with me personally first before they scheduled this thing, right? But so maybe a little change of plans out there. We might be checking out the rally that they have there in Ohio. I'm not entirely sure where the one in Cincinnati is going to be. It's going to be it was at the riverfront in October. So, maybe enjoy a lovely day at a riverfront park with several thousand of our best friends and, compatriots and fans of democracy.
You can find some friends for a day. That's what my wife calls it when we go to a music festival or something like that. You kind of glom onto some people, and sometimes you hit it off and you spend the day together, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's and really your event is going to make like you said, a fantastic capstone to that. It really just ties the whole day together to not just to hear Robert speak, but to hear from your congressional candidates and at least one Secretary of State candidate. That's really phenomenal stuff. You mentioned the other candidates in your region there that are invited to come and walk across the stage there. What's the down ballot looking like? We talked about the state Senate. We've got all 25 of those seats filled for the first time since like 1974, which is
Right.
incredible. And at the House level, 91 out of 100. And I think there may be even a couple more that are going to get caucused in after the primaries. So we're going to be contesting nearly every House seat for the first time in a long time. What about things like the county council and trustees and clerk of the court and every other little thing? You guys still need folks to fill those spots on the ballot there, Marsha?
We do. It's been tough. I'm not going to lie. It's been tough ever since I became chair. We were kind of on a downswing prior to me becoming chair in 2022. We kind of got shellacked. The midterm, of course, is when township trustees are elected, and we have 9 townships in Knox County. We went from 7-2 that year to 3-6. And the 3 that won were all 3 unopposed. So every contested race that year we lost. So this year we do have 6 people running in 6 townships. We have 2 candidates in Vincennes Township. Because for this last year, in this reorganization year of 2025, that's what we hammered. I mean, literally every time Terry and I talked anywhere to anybody, that's what we were hammering is township trustees, township trustee advisory boards, because really that's the closest office to the people. But in the county, I know outside of a city and city council, we do have 2 cities in Bicknell, and we do have 2 Democratic mayors, which I'm very proud of both of them. And they're fabulous mayors who've done wonderful things for their cities. But for people out in the countryside, the township trustee is their closest form of municipal government, if you will. And so we have many, I guess I should say, trustee advisory board candidates, many of them first-time candidates or people who've been caucused in the last term who are now running for their seats. So, and that's also where I'm seeing a little bit of a generational shift because since I became chair, I think we've had 4 or 5 Democrats either pass away or move out of the county into like a nursing home situation to be closer to their families. So, we've tried in all those instances to appoint people who are younger, who are a little bit more diverse, more women to those posts as well. So, but the county offices have been tough. We're kind of in that polarized environment, and social media can be a nightmare. There's a local town page in Vincennes. Every town has them. And they generally have reputations as being quite cesspoolish about keyboard warriors complaining about this, that, and everything. And, a lot of people are like, I don't want that to adversely affect my business or my livelihood. And, they just can find better uses of their time, which is unfortunate because the downside of that is when we leave that to the other party, we've had some very, very bad situations here in Vincennes with people voting straight party Republican tickets. Last time the coroner who got elected within the last term, she was brought up on felony charges for stealing medications out of dead people's medicine cabinets. And she would not resign.
Wow.
So not only are we're also in a kind of a post-shame society where you get felony charges filed against you for stealing medicines out of dead people's medicine cabinets, and she wouldn't resign until she finally turned in a guilty plea and went to prison. Then she was removed from office. So when we don't give people choices, this is what we end up with. And so our goal has always been, these are public service jobs. In many cases, they are good paying jobs or a good paying part-time job in a county like ours. So we turn over all the rocks that we can and look in all the nooks and crannies and just try to identify people who are who care about their community and who are interested in serving their community. because that's all elected office really is.
Very good. Well, and I assume, the filing deadline's already passed for the primary in May, but after that, there is a time until what? I want to say it's July 4th,
July
maybe?
3rd. July 3rd. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, when folks can be caucused in
Mhm.
to represent the Democratic Party on the ballot, and you as party chair, I imagine, can help with that process. So if folks
Absolutely.
are interested in doing that, or just getting involved with your county party in any way, where can folks reach you?
Well, they can find us on Facebook. Just search for Knox County, Indiana Democratic Party, because there is a Knox County, Tennessee. And if you just say Knox County, you'll probably get them. So Knox County, Indiana Democratic Party on Facebook. Or you can email me at kcindems @gmail.com.
Fantastic. And Austin, how about you? If the young folks want to get involved with the Knox County Young Democrats there, if they're interested in going to your event with Robert Arnold on the 28th, pitch tickets still. Tell us where can folks find you and where can folks do that?
You can find us on Facebook as well at Knox County Young Democrats. Our email is kcindianayoungdems@gmail.com. We're on other social media too, but we're not as active. I'm trying to build that up. We're still in the beginning stages of our organization, so we're working on that. But that's the best two places to get a hold of us. And there's no tickets for the event. The event is free to the public. We will accept donations, but no tickets required. And I think we'll have plenty of room for everybody.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's good to hear. Well, excellent. It has been such a pleasure to have both of you tonight, and I can't wait to do something like this again. You guys keep me posted on what's going on in the Valley, and I will be happy to share with our folks any news you have for us. But for now, Marsha, Austin, thank you so much for joining me here tonight on the Who's Left podcast.
Thank you,
Thanks for having
Scott.
us, Scott.
All right. Once again, that was Marsha Fleming and Austin Ray from Knox County, the Democratic Party and the Young Democrats, respectively. Thanks to both of them, and thank you for joining us tonight. If you are up the river in Terre Haute this Sunday, I will be at the Eugene V. Debs Museum for the Socialist Party of Indiana's official launch event. That begins at 4 p.m. local time. And of course, that Sunday morning, I will be here for Who's Left This Week, Indiana's only Sunday morning political news show by and for progressives. My guests this week are Hancock County Democratic Vice Chair and Navy vet Chuck Gill, as well as House District 81 Democratic candidate Sharon White. So thanks again for joining us. One last reminder to please consider supporting Who's Left and the wider Progressive Indiana network with a paid subscription if you're able. This independent media project relies solely on the generosity of kind patrons like you to make this information available for free to everybody. Again, that is at progressiveindiana.net. We could also really use a follow on social media at Progressive Indiana Network on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at the same name and find us on Blue Sky and TikTok at PIN Indiana. You can find me on most of your social media sites at Who's Left. That's HOOS Left. You can send me a direct message wherever you can find me with feedback, tips, ideas, and concerns, or email me directly at scott@whosleft.us. Finally, please forward the show, this show, or any of your other favorite episodes to a friend and have them pass it on to. Let's keep building this project and a truly democratic state, one conversation at a time. Until the next one, this has been the Who's Left podcast. I'm Scott Aaron Rogers. Love each other, Indiana.